Hello, it is Saturday, March 27th. I'm back in the Reading Nook. It's a cool, slightly overcast day, but it's dry and I can get to some parcels and a cup of tea in the Reading Nook. And the first parcel is from Amazon. So, just get this open. Okay, we've got three things in here, so we're going to look at the first. That is Ben Aaronovitch's latest book in his Rivers of London series. This is What Abigail Did That Summer. Ghost Hunter, Fox Whisperer, Troublemaker. It is the summer of 2013 and Abigail Kamara has been left to her own devices. This might, by those who know her, be considered a mistake. While her cousin, police constable and apprentice wizard Peter Grant is off in the sticks chasing unicorns, Abigail is chasing her own mystery. Teenagers around Hampstead Heath have been going missing, but before the police get fully engaged, the teens return home, unharmed but vague about where they've been. Aided only by her new friend Simon, her knowledge that magic is real, and a posse of talking foxes that think they're spies, Abigail must venture into the wilds of Hampstead to discover who is luring the teenagers, and more importantly, why. The book, basically, the front piece comes with a rather touching, rather nice map there. And this is the latest in Ben Aaronovitch's Rivers of London series. Now, if you've not come across this series, it's an urban fantasy series set in London and the UK, although the Octoberman novella switched the location to Germany, and that's a good read as well. But the protagonist is Peter Grant, a young police officer who is basically, in the first chapter of the first book, Rivers of London, runs into a ghost who basically just is a witness to a murder, and from there things get weird, and eventually, all too quickly, Peter is essentially switched to another police division, a secret one that deals with the weird stuff in London and the UK. So basically, so magic, and he becomes an apprentice wizard, and he deals with things like fairies and basically people living underground, a whole race of people living underground, and spirits of the rivers, because that's an important feature of the series, Rivers of London. All of the Rivers of London have their own spirits, and he has to deal with them on a regular basis. So it's Father Thames and Mama Thames and so on, and they are all their own. They're all quite powerful physically and spiritually. Basically up and down the Thames and in the capital itself. So there are about 10 books in the series so far. They are written in the first person, so you are always reading as Peter. It's always an interesting read, and they're really easy to read, because essentially, when I bought the first one, Rivers of London, for my partner, and then I kept buying them as they came out for her, and then I needed some fiction to read, because I needed to switch over, just concentrate on something else. I read the first one, and I enjoyed it so much, I went and read the second one. I read like the first 4 books in about a week and a half. They're very, very easy to read. They sort of like, it's essentially, it's like slipping on a pair of very comfy slippers. And that's not to demean the fiction, that they're not basically, they are really quite easy to read and comfortable, and they're entertaining. The thing is that you always wonder why they've not been adapted to other media, television, or radio, or an audio version, because they're really quite sort of like cinematic in a sense. There's lots going on. We've got lots of engaging characters. and there's always a thing where you're reading through and going, oh, I wonder who would play whom. Okay, who would be the best casting for these characters? And the great thing about it is that it's a particularly English take upon urban fantasy, and it's also a very geeky take upon urban fantasy, because the author himself, Ben Aaronovitch, is a nerd or a geek, however you want to put it. He's written for Doctor Who in the past, and of course he's writing urban fantasy. The thing is, if you read through the books, there are lots of references to things that, if you've any interest in films and television and games, you will recognise. So there are references going through. There's some of those, like, there are obscure references to role-playing games that me and other people in the community, in the hobby, will recognise, and you're just going to go, how do you know about that? And it turns out that sort of like Ben has sort of got an interest in role-playing. He's done a bit, but he's never quite got into it as obviously seriously as some have. But he's always thought about Rivers of London setting as a potential role-playing game. And the interesting thing is, we've actually discussed this with him. We've been in one of his readings, asked him about it, okay, and he's always said that, he's looked at this game or that game, and for example, one of the responses to these books is, oh, this would really work as a Fate game. And obviously it would, because Fate has done urban fantasy already with the Dresden Files. Essentially with the stories about Harry Dresden set in around Chicago, and he's dealing with sort of like wizards and vampires and the Fae and so on, and that's quite a long running series. And Evil Hat Productions has produced a role-playing game based upon that. There's sort of like 3 books, plus there's a condensed version as well. And Fate would do Rivers of London very well. I'm basically, if it could do urban fantasy for the Dresden Files, it can do this. But there is a Rivers of London role-playing game coming out, but it's not done by Evil Hat Productions, and it's not for Fate. It is done for basic role-playing, and it's going to be published by Chaosium. And that's the choice that Ben Aaronovitch always came back to, because he always liked Call of Cthulhu. He always thought it was suitable, and that's the one he liked. So I'm looking forward to Rivers of London when it comes out, hopefully later this year. I know basically things are proceeding at pace on it. But Chaosium, like many other role-playing games, companies is busy putting out lots of books that I'm also looking forward to. So that it will arrive when at some point, and I'll get a copy, and I will definitely review it, and I definitely want to play it. But this is the latest book, What Abigail Did That Summer. Now, Abigail, I should say, is Peter Grant's niece, who works out that he can cast magic, and wants in, and begins looking at his notes and studying it, and begins to learn a bit of magic herself. So it sort of like runs in the family. And such to the point is that in the later books, she actually becomes a minor apprentice. And so begins to learn magic, and is learning magic as well as her uncle. But she's always been a bit of a member of the cast in more recent books, but not a major member of the cast. This brings her front and centre, so you find out what she's like, and what she gets up to. So essentially, it's pushing and developing the world and setting, and seeing it through another character. Because that's the other interesting thing. The protagonist for all the books, bar this one, and also the October Man, the one set in Germany, is always Peter Grant. So we always get his point of view. But we get to see, so in October Man, we get to see the point of view from basically a member of the German police who investigates crimes and sort of knows about Peter Grant and what's going on over there, but doesn't kind of, there's a bit of tension between the two groups. But here we've got someone who's actually a member of the Folly, which is essentially the nickname for the organisation, which the branch of the police which Peter belongs to, but through younger eyes, basically a female point of view as well. So again, this is quite late on in the series, but if you've not read them, go and track them down, because I believe you really will enjoy them. And then to look forward to the role-playing book coming out. But yeah, this will be interesting to see from a different point of view. This is a book I've bought multiple copies of since it's come out, because I'm going to give it as gifts. Because I think the books are that engaging, and I know people who will enjoy reading them. So Ben Aaronovitch's What Abigail Did That Summer. I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm looking forward to giving this as a gift, and I'm looking forward to the role-playing game. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook, please click the like button. If you've got any comments or feedback, take the time to look at those. And of course, if you want to see me out here again with another parcel, chatting about stuff that's in the box, please subscribe. Again, thanks for watching. I'll be back soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.